Bem-vindo. Welcome back to Big Riff Energy. Today my guest is none other than Max Cavalera, quite possibly the greatest international ambassador of Big Riff Energy the world has ever known. This is one of the most epic conversations that I've ever had. It is full of great advice and wisdom and experience about keeping the Big Riff Energy alive for decades. We talk about Max and Igor recording the early Sepultura stuff when they're 13, 14, 15 years old. We talk about them later re-recording these pivotal records as lifers, veteranos of the Big Riff Energy lifestyle. I'm not usually an intro guy, but I'm going to explain some things that went down with this episode. If you're new to the channel, I would also urge you to go ahead and subscribe for more content like this. This is a very DIY podcast. It might seem professional. I can assure you it's not. I have no big sponsors. I have no big metal publications backing me. So when something happens, it falls on my shoulders. Something almost always happens, and usually I'm able to conceal it. We were up against quite a bit this time. The metal gods must have been pleased because there was a massive raging thunderstorm going down at the exact time that the interview was scheduled. So you're going to hear that. I went ahead and leaned into it. If you're watching, you're going to see lightning animation every time the thunder hits. What I did not anticipate was that Zoom would record a whopping 4 seconds of our 45-minute conversation. So unfortunately, I had to improvise. These things happen. Life gives you lemons. You make lemonade, lemon hand grenades. And I leaned heavy into the visual editing. I leaned heavy into supplementing Max, mouthing some of his favorite riffs. I put the riffs in there along with Max. So it's a lot of fun. It turned out to be quite a unique episode. It's a little bit different than previous episodes of Big Riff Energy. But you know what? Listening back to it, it feels like you're in the room with us as Max is taking us on this epic journey back in time through a life dedicated to Big Riff Energy and bringing us into the present day. It sort of has the vibe of a live band doing a take in the studio. I was nervous the power was going to go out. I was nervous about talking to one of my heroes, and you can kind of feel that nervous energy. At the beginning, the sound is a little weird, despite Zoom screwing us and recording 4 seconds. Fortunately, I had backup audio running. So that's what you're hearing, the backup audio. You're just in the room with me and Max. You can feel the weird energy. At first, the audio is a little funky, but stick with it. It evens out. And just like a great tight band in the studio, eventually Max and I start grooving. And this is just an epic conversation, man. I want to thank the Cavaleras for making this happen. And like I said, go ahead and subscribe if you love this sort of thing. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado. And this is my conversation with Max Cavalera. Welcome back to Big Riff Energy. I am here with one of the world's greatest ambassadors of Big Riff Energy, Max Cavalera. Muito obrigado. Is that right? Thank you so much for joining us.
De nada.
Hell yeah, man.
Really good.
Killer. So I want to mainly talk about the re-recordings, the Cavalera re-recordings. We got Schizophrenia coming out June 21st on Nuclear Blast. And also last year, obviously behind me, we had Bestial Devastation and Morbid Visions, man. Let's be real, dude. Sometimes with re-recordings, it seems like a good idea, but then people take these legendary records and maybe the result of the re-recording isn't quite what they expected. But for some reason, when you guys announced these last year and I saw the artwork, I had a really good feeling about it, and I was right, man. And the response has been fucking incredible, obviously. And I feel like you put your whole mission statement out with this artwork, because it's like, these are the same records, these are the same songs, this is the same fucking energy. We're just trying to improve the quality. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think overall everything you say is right. I mean, it was I had to kind of blocked. Me and Igor had to kind of maybe block the maybe the fear of failing and trying to touch this thing in the same way that we touched it when we did it. You know, the only difference now is it's many years later, and the mission was to record them. I think they're great songs. They just sounded like dog shit, because we were on those real shitty Brazilian studios. Like I remember entering Morbid Visions, the the engineer asked me to turn off my distortion pedal, and it was like, what do you mean? He's like, play the same riff without that box. And I played I played the Troops of Doom riff without distortion, sounding all wanky. It's like, yeah, like that. That sounds great. He's like, no, man, no, we need that distortion thing. So this is the kind of situation we were making those records with. Igor didn't even have a drum kit. It's famously known that Morbid Vision, my guitar was out of tune. Gyro recorded and he left the studio and he left me alone there, which should have never been. They should never have done that. Never leave Max alone in the studio. And I had my guitar was out of tune and I just recorded. And Morbid Vision is actually out of tune because of that. Which some black metal guys fucking love that. On that record, one of the things that they love about it. But yeah, I think the way we did it, the way me and Igor approached it was the right mentality with the right attitude. It's like, let's not try to make those songs better. They're great songs. Let's just record them in a badass way, play as hard as we can, play as raw, keep all the brutality, the raw power of it. And then, of course, we had our great friend Arthur doing this voodoo shit he does. And then he put all the mixing and the mastering, all that afterwards, and the result. But I actually was pretty, I liked it. I thought it was cool, but the reaction was actually overwhelming. It was like, fuck yeah, dude! Everybody loved those things. It was like. And my attitude was always like, hey, man, if you don't like it, it's cool. You can always go back to the original. They're always going to be there, But I think, to me, as a fan of heavy music, as a fan of extreme music, to hear Mayhem, the way they sound on the new re-recording version, is like, yes, you can finally hear the riffs.
Yeah.
They're awesome riffs. You couldn't really hear them on Morbid Vision. They're buried between shitty guitar sound and out of tune guitars and crappy drums, That's why it's great.
Yeah, I might ruin my underground metal credibility with this interview right now, because I remember the first time I heard these two albums behind me, the EP and the first full length, and Schizophrenia, on the same day. I heard them all on the same day when I was like 16. And obviously, those are life-changing records. They're crucial records for extreme music. But, I mean, everything you just said, you guys fucking nailed it. Coming from a fan who loves those songs and loves what those records represent, I'm going to ruin my underground credibility because I think these are fucking better, dude. I think they just sound better. You can hear the riffs, like you said. And you guys didn't... a lot of times when guys will re-record stuff like later in their career, again, like I said in the intro, it seems like a good idea and they're trying really hard, you could tell, but maybe it just doesn't come across as brutal and it doesn't have that same like youthful fucking teenage pissed off aggression, but somehow you guys have that. When you were tracking these, did you find yourself like kind of going back in time in your mind because you were fucking young when you guys did that first EP, right?
Yeah, I think I was something like 14. Maybe I was 14 and Igor was 13.
Oh my God, man. Did you find yourself when you're doing the re-recordings, were you like sort of 13, 14 years old again when you were tracking those?
it was kind of in a way it was a bit like therapy and time travel kind of feeling doing those things, going back and relearning all of them. First I had to like remember all of them, and I think I got 80-90% by heart. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. I still remember. And some of the other ones I had to really listen to it and messing around and try to find the right place where they were played. But I think that the main thing that we did, that me and Igor did with this, was that we were paying attention to those recording as fans ourselves. So we put ourselves in the shoes of a fan and saying, what would a fan would like to hear if they're gonna hear these re-recordings? I think they would like to hear a real awesome badass guitar tone. I think they'd like to hear an awesome drum sound. And what were some of the trademarks of back then that we should keep it again and do it again? The vocal sound like you recorded in a cave. Let's do that. So I told Arthur, like, I gotta sound like I'm in a fucking cave, man. Like I'm a caveman in a cave.
Yeah. Well, he nailed it, man.
And that's how we did it. It had all the reverbs,
Yeah, Arthur nailed it. And I want to talk a little bit about Arthur because he's a good friend of mine as well. And I sort of consider him like, he's almost like the Martin Birch of my generation. The amount of fucking like legendary metal records that he's worked on is pretty astounding. Like, especially considering like how young he is, it's crazy to me. Like when I was listening to the Morbid Visions re-recording, I was out back in the fucking woods, just like running like a caveman, running in the woods, listening to Morbid Visions. And I started thinking about like, you guys helped back then, you helped like define this emerging style of extreme music. We'll call it like going from maybe first wave black metal and like the beginnings of death metal into like thrash metal. It's all like in this melting pot. And I feel like that's a very popular style of music in metal right now. Bands like Fugitive, bands like Power Trip, Enforced, all kinds of stuff like that. And it's kind of beautiful to me that all that time ago, you guys helped define this style of music. And then now all these years later, you are turning to who I would say is like the most relevant, most important producer for that kind of music. And it seems like such a full circle, beautiful thing. Did it feel that way to you guys? Like you're still relevant in this thing that you helped create,
Yeah, it was cool how our relationship happened with Arthur. He was Igor's drum tech for a Cavalera tour we're doing in the U.S. Igor brought him as a drum tech, and I met him, and he seems cool. We hit up right away because he found out that I love Satan and Angel Witch and all these new British new wave of British heavy metal shit. He's like, oh my god, you like those bands? I'm like, yeah, I love them. My brother hates them. It was like, come here, let's sit down. So we went back in the buzz and start talking music. So we hit it up right away. And then back then he was showing me the stuff that he was doing. I think he just got done doing Nightmare Logic. And he was working, I think, on I think it was Code Orange and Inquisition. And he's showing me all these recordings, and then me and my brother, we talk a little bit. It was like we should get this guy to make our record, man. He's pretty sick, and nobody really knew Arthur that much back then. It's not like now. Now he's got like a lot more people know about him, but back then it was like totally like obscure, kind of getting a producer that most people never even heard of it. And he did the Psychosis, which is my favorite Cavalera record of the ones that we did. I like the first one a lot. Inflicted was really cool. It was fun having Joe from Gojira involved, and I think it's a pretty solid record. But I think Psychosis was like, yes, we hit it on in that death thrash thing was like awesome. There's something about that record that I really love. It sucks that we never got to tour for that record, but I really love the way the entire record came out. And because of that and it was such a nice experience. Like he's the anti-producer of all time. Like he doesn't act like he's the opposite of big producers. He's like the old. I joke. I say, recording with Arthur is like your old buddy from high school that you should like skip school and go to the parking lot, jam metal, and get shit face. And that's your buddy that you talk metal with.
Yeah.
That's Arthur.
Yes, it is.
And that's how he put him in the studio. And he was like, it was cool. He's like, where's that Believe the Remains Max? Let's make that guy come out. Like challenge me with that. And it was like, oh shit, here he goes, man. So by experience that kind of making a record with that, and it was a mess. I remember the Psychosis was just a mess. Like it had sounds going everywhere, and I was like, I don't even want to think about you mixing this thing, man. It looks like a train wreck. Sounds like a train wreck, but somehow I believe that you're gonna deliver, and he did. In the end, it's a beautiful record. So when we did, there came time to do this idea, the Morbid Visions, Bestial Devastation. We went fully prepared and excited that was going to be with Arthur, and he came over, and it's fucking crazy. Igor had 104 fever when he recorded those the 4 days that he recorded drums. He was sick the whole time. And I even joke, I was like, yeah, you sound better when you're sick. You drum better.
Fucking sick, bro. Super sick.
Yeah, he's a real sick drumming, in a real sick way. He's like 105 fever. But yeah, we just kind of went for it. And like I say, the songs didn't change. And that's like a vital thing. We changed a little, maybe 1 or 2%. I think I changed one, or I think the Show Me the Wrath riff, I changed it a little bit. And there's a couple other minor things. Everything else is the same as it was. And it's the same with Schizophrenia. Although Schizophrenia is a little bit better recorded, I still think like it can be better. So I was thinking like, let's do this one too, man. Fuck it. This is something. Then by doing that, we have a trilogy. We have the first three, and of course we're stopping there. we're not going any further.
Right on.
People don't have to be worried about it. We're not that crazy.
Well, I can't wait to hear Schizophrenia, man. If it's anything like these two, and I'm sure it is, man.
It's the same spirit.
Yeah,
so we kept everything, the whole vibe. The only difference was the excitement of Arthur was 10 times higher, because he's all like, Schizophrenia is your ride the lightning, bro. You have to take it to the next level, but yeah, I think it has the same vibe, same energy, the same rawness, everything similar. And I think it's really cool that now we have all those re-recorded for a whole new generation of people to enjoy,
I agree, man. It's beautiful. And speaking of Arthur saying it's your ride the lightning, that actually my next question was going to be sort of along those lines. These first two re-recordings, you can hear the thrash metal sort of evolving in a song like War. You can hear in those breakdowns, you hear the thrash coming through that sort of like first wave black metal style. But then going into Schizophrenia, it's like you can really hear that fucking thrash coming out. Do you remember what you guys were listening to, like between Morbid Visions and Schizophrenia?
So it was a combination of things. We still love we still really into all the black metal that we listen to on Morbid Visions, the Battery. I still love all those Battery old records, Celtic Frost, Hellhammer, and Onslaught, and all that. But we were starting to listen to some more the thrashier things, specifically stuff like Sacrifice. I love Forward to Termination. That's a big one. And then Dark Angel, Darkness Descends. That's a huge record for us back then. Together with some hardcore stuff, I remember we also listened to like COC, Technocracy, and some I think it was like, we always also loved the UK hardcore scene, Discharge, all that, GBH and all that crusty stuff, Doom, Extreme Noise Terror. So I think it was a combination of all that, but we were becoming a bit better musicians that we could do. I remember when I created the riff for From the Past Comes the Storms, and I was totally excited that I made this triplet riff, and I was like showing Igor and showing all the other guys, like, I have this feeling, it's like, it's hard to do, but if we do it right, it's going to be really killer, And it's that,
yeah, man.
It's just a full-on triplet, man. You got to be like, your right hand's got to be a fucking machine. But yeah, it's one of those things. That song is really inspired by Chemical Warfare. I think we were listening to a lot of Haunting the Chapel back then, and but then in the other songs you can hear the influence of some of the like Nuclear Assault and Exodus, the Bonded by Blood and Pleasures of the Flesh kind of influence. Very tempo changes, going from fast to slow, a lot of down picking, and one of my favorite riffs of the whole Schizophrenia is actually like the opening riff of Septischizo, which is like, and that's straight up Exodus, Bonded by Blood, man. That's like right from, it's like taken out of those some of those crazy Gary Holtz riffs, man. And I love the energy, and I love the ambition of Schizophrenia too. Yeah, like Inquisition Symphony, to like instrumental with like 1,000 riffs, like riff after riff after riff, non-stop. Just keep adding more. Yeah, we need some more riffs in here. We got about 90. I think we need about 30 more.
Yeah, you can never have too many big riffs, man. You never can.
No. And that was very ambitious. I remember we had a neighbor that was a classical music teacher, was our neighbor, and we were jamming Inquisition Symphony, working on it, and he came in our rehearsal room, which was like it was pretty much a house without a ceiling, like looked like a nuclear bomb had dropped in, and all the walls are destroyed, and there was no roof, no ceiling. It was crazy favela, we call it in Brazil, favela kind of place. But he came in and he's like, I just have to tell you guys, whatever you guys are working, this is really cool. It's like classical music with heavy metal, and we're all like, no, I think it's just heavy metal. There's not much classical. None of us know much classical, but I can see it. I can see it now that I look back. Some of the ideas on that song are structured similar to classical music.
It's a little more progressive or something.
Yeah, a little faster, but with the same kind of vibe. Some of the notes in some of the parts are really operatic, dramatic.
Yeah.
Which would be kind of cool, like when they do maybe just that song, do a real orchestral arrangement of that song with strings and violins and all that shit.
Dude, maybe you could get like Jazz from Killing Joke to arrange it, or he does like symphonies and shit in New Zealand, and he arranges like Led Zeppelin songs and stuff.
Oh yeah, something like that would have been really cool. I always kind of tinkering with those ideas, but overall, that was really a step forward record, and it was the record that got us signed with Roadrunner. That's so I think I hold Schizophrenia real near my heart because of that. I think I was very I worked very hard on it, and even though like there was some corrections in some of the lyrics. I think the original lyric was wrong English. The demo was called "From the Past Reborns the Storms," which I don't think is real proper English. I think is wrong English. And my friend corrected me, and it's like, you got to fix that. That's not English. That's not proper English. And then we changed it to "From the Past Comes the Storms." But the idea, the actual idea was like the past reborns the storms is the idea of the thing. It's like the past gives birth to the storms of the future,
right?
Type thing. But yeah, it was like out of everybody, I was the one that spoke a little bit more English, and but I still would write a lot of the stuff in Portuguese and then translate it to English, and then sing with the accent. Which I think is another thing that's cool. That's kind of part of the Mex folklore. Is we are here to fuck shit up. And all this.
It's like the extra. Brazilian accent cuts through. Yeah, it's extra brutal sounding.
Makes it extra evil.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, it makes it extra brutal. We had a friend that translated for us, and he was great in English. And so I found the other day, I don't know if you saw, but Gloria posted the original lyrics of Beneath the Remains. And they were in Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
And that was cool to see. I wrote them in Portuguese, and then we translate them to English. And it's quite unique to think like that, like write them in your main language first. I wonder if like Scorpions does that with, like Klaus Meine, like writes it in German first and then translates to English.
It could be,
Probably
man.
Not.
I think it gives it a different kind of charm. It just makes it a little bit more special. It makes it, like you said, a little bit more evil sounding and a little more like mysterious. For me, that's how I felt, dude. I grew up in Oklahoma, like tiny fucking town. I'm gonna get sentimental real quick. We don't have much time left, but I got to do it.
It's all right. We got a little bit of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm 16 years old. I'm working my first job in a call center, like in a fucking strip mall in a small town in Oklahoma, right? And next door to where I work is a place called Hastings, and they sell like used CDs and shit. And dude, this strip mall is where all this shit went down. Like, I'm 16. I drank Jägermeister for the first time in the parking lot of this fucking place, working my first job, And I remember payday one Friday, I go next door to Hastings, and somebody, I guess maybe they were having a bad day or trying to score or something, but they sold these two behind me, Bestial Devastation, Morbid Visions. They're on one CD, right? And then Schizophrenia, Beneath the Remains, Arise. And so I have my fucking paycheck. I'm 16 years old. I've heard like Sabbath, Metallica, Slayer, shit like that. But I bought every one of those CDs, right? And started at the beginning. And that's the first thing I remember was just like, back in those days, I didn't really use the internet for shit. I'm just like reading the liner notes. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are from Brazil. Like, what the fuck? Well, I wonder what that's like, And hearing your accent. And hearing like the weird, you guys are learning English as you're fucking writing like heavy metal songs. That's like a crazy ass way to learn the English language, and like, it was just such a, it was such a fucking mysterious, evil. Yeah. It was like the scariest shit I ever heard. And it's cool, man. You know, now I'm 36 and I get to hear these fucking records all over again, like with new life, better production, Arthur production, you know, and they're still brutal and they're still evil. So I salute you for the riffs, man.
Awesome. Thank you. You know, riffs to be my passion my whole life. That's why I took the strings out. You know, there's the famous story. I said it many other times before, but you know, my roadie at the time, I broke a string by mistake, and then I ended up breaking the other one, and so I just had the 4 strings, you know. And he's all like, "Yeah, you know, we're in a short budget, Max. I can go to the store and get you a new pack of strings, or we can get some booze, and you keep raging on those 4 strings." But I think it looks cooler with 4 strings. And to be honest, Max, you don't use those 2 little fuckers anyway. And I was like, "You're right. I don't use them, man." So he went to the store and he got some booze, and I officially became a 4-string guitar player. And still to this day, except for when I'm doing some other stuff, I put the other 6. But I think in a weird way, in a weird mental way, it forced me to be very, very creative because I had less to work with, you know. So I have less strings to work with. I have, you know, I have to make the most out of it with what I have, which is less strings, you know. But I always been a riff guy. And the other thing that a lot of people don't know about me, and that's gonna sound pretty crazy, but I never really cared for tuning my whole life. So a lot of the songs I'll write, I don't know what tuning those things were, and only later that I go to the studio that we have to figure out what tune they're gonna be, you know, the exact tune. And some of them, there's some Soulfly shit, forgot what album it is, that is between D and B. So if you have to tune, like if you tune with a tuner in B, you won't hit it. You'll sound out of tune. And if it's in D, it's not. So it's in between them. There's no name for that tuning. You know, that's some wild shit like that. And I love that because I think that's the purest form of songwriting that you can have, which is completely by ear. Not. I never went to school. You know, I think I went to school one time. The guy tried to teach me jazz, and he was like really into John McLaughlin, which I admire, but I'm not a big fan of it.
That's like,
and I couldn't get behind it. You know,
up here, like, bro, way over my head.
He's like, show me John Macklin. I'm like showing him Hellhammer. It's like, no, I want to learn how to play this, not that. You know. So after a week, I broke up with this guy, like with this teacher, and never went back. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna learn this thing by my own way. So I started doing, I started learning cover songs, started picking up. I remember the first day I learned Heaven and Hell. I was so fucking excited, man, because that's kind of a complicated riff for a beginner, you know? And so I was like, the last part always kind of gave me a little bit of trouble. but yeah, it's like jackpot. Yeah, you know,
that's a heavy one, man.
Yeah, and then I think I remember I learned some Merciful Fate that really was like, yeah, this is cool. And then some Venom, and then from there on, just starting to elaborate my own. But one of the riffs that I'm most proud of it, there's 2. One of the one I'm most proud of it is actually Refuse and Resist. And I remember trying to think of Refuse and Resist as a riot. I wanted something that sounded like you're in the middle of a riot with fucking gas exploding and people shouting and cop cars upside down on fire. You know, like how would that? I want the sound of that. And I remember sitting like, I need the sound of that. You know, so I watch videos of riots and fucking to get inspired, and came up with a. I think that was a pretty close riot riff. Like, it sounds like a riot. I think I nailed that. And then the other one I think is cool is the Eye for an Eye riff from Soulfly 1. Because I wanted to do a riff that you can be on an island with one string and you can play that riff. And Eye for an Eye, you just need one string to play the whole song is on the first string. You don't even need more than one string.
Beautiful, man. Taking the 4 strings and dividing it by 4 and just go to 1, man. Fuck it.
Go to 1. Go as prime as he gets.
Dude, I gotta ask you. I just have a couple more questions and then I'll let you go, man. Again, I appreciate it so much. So I'm a big MMA fan, and my MMA buddies will fucking kill me if I don't ask about this. Do you know? I'm assuming you do, but I have to ask. Do you know about Alex Pereira Poatan walking out to It's Sorry?
Yeah. First time I watched was a real surprise. I was just watching with my son. Zion is a Soulfly drummer, and he's a big fan of MMA and all that, UFC, and he's like, Pops, you gotta watch this guy, Brazilian guy coming up, blah blah blah. So I'm watching it live with him, and that song comes in, and I was like, wait, I know this shit. like immediately there's that connection in my brain, but I'm not really believing what I'm hearing. It's kind of like mind fucking me. It's like, why is it Sorry being played? This guy walkout music. Like, what the fuck is going on? And then later after the fight, my son, he like explains the whole thing. Like, yeah, he's really into the tribes, and in fact, there's a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think he's related to some of the people from the tribe that we recorded, which is the Chavantes. And I think that's just beautiful, and I hope one day we get to meet Alex. And it's just really cool that he does that, and he comes out with I think I love the whole tribal shit that he puts on, the bow and arrow, all that. It's super cool. But yeah, when I heard that, I was like, and that's fucking cool that music reaches out to that kind of stuff, that surprises you, like 30 years later. Here comes a guy, fighter from a different, it's not a musical thing. He's a fighter, but he's using some of the stuff that you did as inspiration for him to go fight, and that's a beautiful thing, man. It's so cool. I kind of like I was really very emotional. Actually, it was emotional watching that, and every time I watch him, I always get the goosebumps. It's like the hair on your arm just stands up, and it's really really cool that he did that, and I'm a big fan of his fighting as well. So it's so cool to hear shit like that just surprises you. You're not expecting, you don't know that's gonna happen, and it happens, and it's really cool. After all these years of hard work, and it's cool to see shit like that happening.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. And he's hard not to root for. He came up through some difficult shit like we all did, and here he is, like, living the dream, man. So, last question, and then I'll sort of like, we can promote your tour for Schizophrenia that's coming up over in Europe and stuff. But I do have to bring this up, man. I can't think of anybody in your position that does a better job of being like plugged into new metal bands. Not in you, but like new extreme fucking death metal underground shit. The first time I ran into you was actually at a fucking Genocide Pact show at 51 West coffee shop. And I was just like, holy shit, like this guy's for real. Like he's plugged into new bands. He supports new bands. The Cavalera tribe has always done such a fucking great job of that. And, we all appreciate it. But I was going to ask you, because on this show, I try to like promote cool newer bands that have big riffs, and I know you're a fan of these guys. Have you heard the new Necrot album?
Yeah.
What do you think, man?
Drill the scope. Drill the scope. That's fucking great.
Hell yeah.
It's all killer. Like to me, to experience the new generation, and that includes also like you guys too, when back then when we met you with Gay Creeper, and I fucking love the stuff you're doing with Spirit of the Drift. I think is it Barn Burner?
Yeah.
Fucking that riff, man. I'm this close to rip that off.
Go ahead. It's yours, man.
I fucking love that beginning, man. It's so like it's so heavy metal, but beautifully done.
Thank you.
But yeah, I connected with the generation, like touring with those bands. Like we did a tour with 200 Stab Wounds with Soulfly. I think we were one of the first bigger bands that took them out. They were just a bunch of kids. And I remember watching them, and I told Steve, I said, dude, you remind me of early Sepultura, man. You know, you guys have that fucking fire that we had, you know. So I thought that was cool. And Steve's a great guy, you know, and I'm so glad they're getting a lot more popular these days, you know. And we try to take bands all the time. You know, we just did the Go Ahead and Die tour with Body Box, and you know, we took me and my brother, we took Full of Hell on tour with Immolation. It's great. To me, it's part of my love for metal that's never stopped. I'm still a 14-year-old kid trapped in a 54-year-old body. And I don't want to grow up. I don't want to, you know, like, I don't want to change that, man. That's priceless. That's like some shit that I would, no matter what life throws at you, what music business throws at me, that part stays untouched. The heavy metal kid is always going to be inside of me, man. Nobody can fucking kill that kid, you know? And that's like something that I'm super proud of it, man. And that's why I love helping out bands, getting in touch with them, wearing their shirts, you know. It's great. It's part of it's a different world, but in a way it feels very similar to 1984, 1985, when I was wearing, you know, a Hellhammer shirt, when I was wearing, like a brand new Morbid Angel shirt that I just got from Trey to tape trading, or from Chuck. You know, I used to tape trading with Chuck. We used to be pen pals and shit. And so I think that's that connection you make with bands and musicians. That's super cool, man. And I love the fact that the new generation are so they're very when you talk to somebody like the 200 Stab Wound guys, they let you know what you did for them, you know. They let you know those albums were a huge influence. So thank you for making them, you know.
Yeah.
And it's cool that you hang out with us, that you're here, that you take us out on tour. You know, other bands did that to us back then. I remember, you know, Pantera took us out, and Ozzy always was good to us. Ministry, you know, and so it's like you said in the beginning of the interview, a 36-degree cycle, you know. The new generation, the old school stuff. It's so cool to see some of that coming back, getting popular. The shows are packed, and more power, man. The more metal we have, the better. And yeah, I'm excited. I always get excited to hear a new record. I cannot wait. And I don't cheat. I wait till it comes out. You know, like
that's a better idea, man. I've been kind of like fucking records up for myself.
Another thing I miss the most, they don't have it anymore. It was the midnight, when the albums came out at midnight in the stores. You know, I remember we did one of those for we did one of those for Chaos AD in England, and we had a line of like 2,000 people on a Tower Records in the middle of London. And at midnight, they put the albums out, and everybody bought it, and we signed it, and we were there till like 4 a.m. But I always thought that was so cool, so fun. You know, like I kind of missed that. You know.
Yeah, I bet, man.
But it's still exciting, like when you wait for Spotify to drop an album, when you wait till Friday. Yeah, Friday, there's something coming up, you know, next Friday, there's this release. I'm waiting, I'm excited for it, you know, so that's always cool.
Can I take this opportunity? You might have already heard these, but can I recommend a couple things I think you would like? Newer shit?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
And these guys have been compared to like your early albums, but Sovereign from Norway, have you heard this one?
I haven't, no.
Dude, you would love it. It's like death thrash. It's like kind of technical and progressive, but it's not too technical. So maybe like death, coroner, like spiritual healing or leprosy era death, coroner, maybe some of your old riffs, it's really good. You would dig that one, man, for sure. And then
Sweet.
one more, I think you would like this. Impossible to read the logo, but they're called Sivarus. It's on
Wow.
it's on $20 spin. So this is more like Death Doom, but it's almost got like some fucking old Neurosis parts, like atmospheric, super brutal. So that's Sivarus, and that other band was Sovereign. But you should check those.
Severus?
Yeah, it's like Civerous.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out, man.
I think you would dig both of those records, man. And like I said, I just had to take the opportunity because there's not a lot of guys in your position that, stay plugged in and support up and coming bands. And it's a fucking beautiful thing, man. And we all appreciate it. And now let's tell the people about the tour coming up, dude. The Schizophrenia Third World Trilogy tour. I gotta say, man, we played. Spirit of Drift played the day after you guys at that Metal Injection Fest, like back in September. So you guys played the Observatory in Orange County.
Yeah.
And we came in the day before just because we wanted to see you guys. And dude, all right, I was born in 88, so I kind of missed the 80s, obviously. I was fucking 2 years old when 1990 came around. But when we were walking from our car to the observatory in Orange County, that's what I imagined the 80s were like. It was like fucking long-haired heshers, fucking skinheads, dudes with spikes, dude with the fucking patches, people with boom boxes, they're getting fucked up. Like we're walking through like a fucking field of these people, and we go in the show, and bro, when you guys played, it was like somebody dropped a fucking bomb in there. It was so sick. Fucking drinks flying through the air. So the spirit of these early recordings and the spirit of like early extreme music was alive and well. And you guys are taking it over to Europe in June. Is that right?
Yeah, so we start European tour, and it's called Third World Trilogy, and like I say, I think the idea is to combine all the three records, because we already did a run called Morbid Devastation, where we played Morbid Visions and Bestial Devastation. Now we get to like mix those three together. I think to me that's so cool because those are three powerhouses of kind of different styles. You got the black metal, the raw black metal, and the early death thrash, and you put all that together. I think we're even gonna play in a shuffle order, so you can probably hear Morbid Visions going into From the Past Comes the Storms, going into Troops of Doom, and then go into Necromancer. So you'll be wild. I think it's cool to do it like that, but. Yeah, I agree. Like, there's something about that. That nostalgia is a powerful thing, man. It's cool, and I think I'm in a cool situation with the stuff that I do because I get to experience kind of both. Going to the future, I always have Soulfly, which I'm working on it right now for next year, and I just did a huge Go Ahead and Die tour, which was underground as fuck. All shithole venues, man. It was great. It was awesome. A lot of them didn't have stage, like no barricades. It was like, yeah, old school as fuck. And then I get to enjoy the nostalgic feeling that these records have. And I know the power that they hold in people's life. I know they lay heavy on a lot of people's lives. A lot of people's soundtrack of their early years was those records. So when when you get a chance to do them, something happened in the air. I don't know what it is, but there's a vibe, there's a excitement, and we try to really enjoy that because those are things uh, that you cannot buy. You can't buy excitement like that. You either get it or you don't. You can be a billionaire and not be able to experience that, and all the money in the world, you can't buy that. That's not for sale. You can try, but I don't think and that's what makes it cool. It's a unique thing. It's all about alchemy and vibe and nostalgic feelings. And I love when it's like younger people, especially like young kids, like 12, 13 years old, that were not even born when those records were made. And they love it, man. And they dive deep in it. They love it as much as, with the same excitement as the people that were there back then, that witnessed at firsthand. So I think and that's one of the cool reasons we did those re-recording, was also to maybe like, to reach the gap, the bridge between the old generation and the new generation. Because I think you noticed at that show, there was probably a lot of older guys, our age. I'm a little older than you, but like my age kind of guys. And then there's all young kids, super young dudes that are going to be like the future, and I think that's awesome. And I love that, man. I love that we're able to do that, to be part of that. Just that experience. I get to do that with my brother and with my son. And Travis also playing guitar. Travis plays with Big Destroyer. He killed it on Schizophrenia.
Dude, his right hand looks like it's glitching out. Like my eyes can't even keep up with how fast his fucking hand is going.
Yeah, and that was one of the coolest things too. Like we could have got like a virtuoso kind of guy to play that, but I thought it was cooler that we got Travis, because Travis is a thrasher in his heart. So it's like the real deal. You're getting somebody that is really into that kind of music. He plays in a band called Desolus, and Desolus is pretty much Sodom. It's like a new version of Sodom right now. So thrash is in Travis' heart, but he killed them. I cannot wait for you to hear the whole thing. He killed it on that, and my brother is playing real tight, amazing drumming right now. Igor Amadeus on the bass, my son, it's cool. And I love the fact that you have two old geezers like me and Igor. And then you got two youngsters. Yeah. You got Travis and Igor Amadeus, like the young energy motherfuckers. Yeah. And then you get old motherfuckers,
Igor Amadeus is fucking killing the bass too, and his tone is so good, man. And please give him my best. I haven't seen him in forever. I remember the last time we hung out was at a fucking Morbid Angel show in Tempe, man.
I'll tell Igor that, man.
Okay.
He'll be stoked. But yeah, man, thanks for having me, man. This was a blast.
Of course, man. And you said it, dude. You said something just a second ago. There is no fucking drug on earth that's as good as the love of like extreme music and Big Riff Energy. And I've done a lot of them, and I never found one that was as good as Big Riffs, man.
Riffing, a lot of times, I start riffing about night at night. And sometimes it'll be like 2 a.m. and my wife will come in the room like, are you ever going to come to bed? You're just going to spend the night there riffing. The time just flies, when you're riffing. And I have this love and hate relationship with the guitar, because I demand a lot. I want the best riffs to come out of that fucking guitar, and a lot of times they don't. And we have a physical argument, and I flip off the guitar, and I call the guitar names, and I even broke some, you know. But it's awesome, man. Riffing just for the hell of it. Sometimes even when you don't have to make a record, when you don't have to write for anything, you just sit with the guitar and riff. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful, wonderful. More people should appreciate riffs. I don't know why they don't. Riff is a fucking art form, and I'm fucking stoked to be here on Big Riff Energy because it's all about the riffs.
Max, muito obrigado, man. It's a beautiful thing you're doing with your tribe, with your family, with the Big Riff Energy. And go see the fucking Cavaleras in Europe in June. Pick up Schizophrenia in June. And I'm sure you're the busiest motherfucker in the history of heavy metal. So we'll be seeing you somewhere, brother.
I will. All the best to you. This was really fun, man.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And tell Gloria thank you for dude, she was like responding like that. It was crazy, man.
Yeah, she's on it, man.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, brother. Thank you so much.
Awesome, bro. Yep. Take care, man.